Hey guys, so in this video we're talking about what I learned in my 20s about making money. I'm 32 right now. This video is kind of for my kids when they grow older and to decide if they care about what I was thinking or what I do and everything, to kind of help them out. So if you guys are watching, I love you. Let's get into it. I have 12 things and a bonus at the end, and I will try to do timestamps. If you want to go in the description, you could kind of jump around. Number one, growing in a career is better than investing. So for example, I remember in my 20s, I wasn't making too much and I was really prioritizing investing because once I learned about compound interest, I knew that was how you built wealth. So I focused, and I'm glad I did it because I understand investing more now. But when you really think of the numbers, let's say you have $1,000 and you're going to invest that. And let's say you get an average return in stocks of 10%. Heck, even 20%. You did pretty good, right? That's $100 or $200 in a year. Now, long-term compound interest, obviously, you continue doing that and it grows exponentially. But realistically speaking, you could literally do a little side job that you can make that money in a weekend and not in a year investing. So that's why I would suggest prioritizing your career or your business to grow and get experience. Which kind of leads us to number two, is you focus on making that money first to then invest it. You got to grow your income. So focus on your cash flow. Increase your income and minimize your expenses. Cash flow is king. I will say that to the day I die. Investing is important, but what you could do is really just throw it in an index fund. Don't worry, don't put too much time and effort into it. Focus on growing. Number three is you could also focus on multiple streams of income and multiple investments. So I looked up the average millionaire has an average of 7 income streams. Here, I just looked it up. Let's read them off. So 1 is earned income, so a job. 2, business income. So if you have a business, side hustle, whatever. Rental income, real estate. Dividend income. So that could be with stocks or other investments, bonds, whatever. Interest income, that's bonds or savings accounts, money markets. Capital gains, so that's appreciation of really anything. 7 is royalty income. That's not a common one, but that's income earned from intellectual property such as books, music, or other patents. It's probably not an average person, but you could see the variety of income that you could have. So you're not going to be making $1 million of income from all of these streams initially, but I think at least starting to get all of these built in your 20s is a good way to do it. Really, what we mentioned before, really build your career, build your business, build your investments. It's really getting that foundation, so when you get older, it's just growing at that point. Number 4 is kind of a tricky balance. I'd say it is important to have cash to jump on opportunities. So yeah, compound interest is important and you should try to invest as much as possible. At the same time, if you look at stocks, if you have cash and let's say there's a recession or a correction that you can't time, unfortunately, but if an opportunity comes around or maybe something is on a discount, you could buy it at that discount and then, it grows in value or something. In those situations, it's good to have cash. As well as if you're starting your life, if you're looking to get a car or something, you kind of do need some type of cash to pay for something. So I just put out, I remember I invested every single dollar, so I had minimal cash, and then I needed cash for something, and I just didn't have it. So you kind of need a balance. Which in a way leads to number 5, which is flipping or selling items. So if you're looking to make could be a couple $100 or even thousands, is you could first start with selling your stuff. Now, if you're younger, you might not have a lot of things. You might, depends, but you could sell those items. Could build up a little bit of cash like that. Or flipping items. So for example, I was going through flipping. This is my 4th year doing it. But you find something at a discount. Let's say something is, the market value is $100. You could find it somewhere for 50. You buy it for 50, and then you sell it back on market for what it's worth, 100. that you could actually make a decent amount of money fairly quick, especially in popular high demand items. And sometimes you can make that money like just over a weekend versus investing over a year. And I remember reading, as everyone should, I believe, is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That really changed my financial mindset completely. But I remember he mentioning, like, you make money at the buy. And I never fully understand that until I started doing it. You make money when you get a good deal. If you make, you get $100, you find it for $50, you already made the money because you know what it could sell for. That's kind of less risk and almost a guarantee because you know what the market could sell for. Versus what a lot of people might do is they buy that $100 item hoping that it goes to $150. There's a difference there. You get it at a discount at $50 to then sell it back what it's worth versus hoping that it goes up. You could also technically put both of them together, get something at a discount, hold it, and hope that it goes up too. Like one item I do that a lot with is video games, but that's where a lot of money could be made. Number 6, it's very boring, but is very important, is taxes and write-offs. So one big thing, when you're in your 20s, most likely you're not going to be making a lot of money. So that's why I think a Roth IRA is important. You're paying minimal taxes. You could put it into a Roth IRA, gross tax-free. When you retire, you don't have to worry about taxes. Versus a 401k, you put money into it pre-tax. Then when you retire, then you pay tax. So that's kind of why I like Roths. But also business-wise, quick story. When I moved in with my fiance at the time, I was going hard. I was doing, I was working at my job, had my side hustle with starting to resell, and then also door dashing in the mornings. So what I was thinking, I'm like, all right, if I do a couple deliveries before work, I can make maybe $20 a day. In a week, that's $100. In a month, that's $400. That could be groceries. That could be a car payment for some people. So I did that for a little bit, and I made a little bit of money. It was pretty cool. So then at the end of the year, I went to my accountant, and he's like, hey, I see you made a little bit of money here. By the way, there's self-employment tax. And I knew there's always some type of tax, but he mentioned it was 40%. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. And I realized that was a lot. Which brings you to the world of like write-offs. You could write off like mileage. You could write off business expenses, internet, insurance, home office. So I think in the beginning, it's good to at least have the understanding and kind of structure your taxes and write-offs so when later on, you don't get screwed with it. Number 7 is owning a home is freaking expensive. Now it seems obvious, but a goal what a lot of people might think is like, oh, I gotta get a house and then, that shows that I'm successful. I don't think you should squeeze yourself into a house that you can't necessarily afford, especially when you're young, because things are gonna go wrong. Like I went through AC units already. I went through plumbing. There's always something going on and they're expensive. So if you're like single, if you're like with a partner, it really shouldn't be a priority. I feel like growth should be a priority. Like when you really need space or you start having like a family, then that's like when you need a house. Now sure, some people ended up getting in at the right time, buying a home, and then it increased in value, and then they have a little bit of money from there. But you can't always guarantee that. So sometimes just renting could be better. It's kind of different for everyone. So I'd recommend like looking at your situation. Sometimes renting's better, sometimes owning's better, but I would say like on a clean slate, look at what works for you. Number 8, I do wish I did this in my 20s better, but budget in savings and investing. I did recently do a video about budgeting, what I learned in my 20s, that I really didn't do it. Because when you're younger, you're not making a lot. You're not really even spending too much. Like there's not many expenses. When you start like having a family, kind of grows, and then you don't know where your budget's at that point. I'd recommend starting a budget and then incorporating savings, investing into that automatically every single month. Before you realize it, it's growing pretty well because you're not even thinking about it. And heck, you shouldn't even be looking at it. Just let it grow. Number 9 is getting out of debt is usually sometimes better than investing. So let's look at credit card debt. So let's say you have $1,000 in credit card debt, paying whatever rates are now, 25%. And let's say you have $1,000 in cash. You're like, oh, should I invest that? So let's say if you do invest it, if you get a 10% return, like average returns, or even 20%, that return is still less than the interest that you're paying on your credit cards. And there's risk because you might not get that return. If you pay off that debt, that's like a guaranteed rate of return of 25% on the credit card. Same thing goes with like student loans. If you're paying, 6-7% or whatever, if you pay that off, it's like you're guaranteeing that return. And then eventually when you pay that off, you no longer have to pay that interest. But it also helps your cash flow because you no longer have that debt payment. It increases your net income at the end. Debt is obviously a huge problem in this country, so I think this is a pretty important one. And I'm pretty sure my next video is going to be what I learned about debt in my 20s. Because I want to help people with debt. People are getting crushed by it. Heck, look at the country. We're, $37 trillion in debt? Things are just going swell. And heck, even if you don't have the debt, don't necessarily get into it to then screw yourself up later on. And I'm talking about consumer debt. Sure, there are some debts that could be beneficial, like real estate, that could, create income from it. But most people suffer from consumer debt. It's not attractive and interesting, like, oh, I paid off my debt and, whatever, versus a stock is exciting, right? But mathematically, paying off debt is kind of better. Number 10 is don't listen to people that have never done what you're doing. I could look at, a bunch of my successes are almost the exact opposite of what people around me have told me what to do. Could be like my career, or my business, or my investments. A lot of people just talk and they don't know or have any experience what they're talking about. So they give bad advice. Especially when you're younger, that's when you should really be taking the risks or trying new things. Don't let any other people tell you what you should be doing. Most of the time they're wrong. I'll always use this example. I was documenting my reselling journey on TikTok of selling on eBay, and I had a video game. I'm like, yeah, I could probably get up to $100 for this thing. And there was a comment you can't get $100 for that. And literally the next day, I sold it for $95. And I've done this continuously with Nintendo Wiis. I've sold over 50 of those. I always mentioned I sell them between $100 to $120. People they go for $50 to $60. And I constantly sell them. I made a lot of money with that. I constantly disprove what other people think. So learn through experience, not what other people might say. Unless they personally learned from experience. Number 11 is a big one that helped me in my career, I believe, is don't be afraid to leave a job. What I think, honestly, you should kind of gain experience and move forward. In the beginning, I kind of stayed at a place maybe from a year and a half to 2 or 3 years. You gain the experience, you move on. You gain the experience, you move on. But at the same time, not only gaining the experience, you learn what you like and you don't like. So you have a job for a little bit, it's good to gain the experience, but then you're I didn't like that at all, let's go in another direction. And over time, you gather all that experience to then move you further in your career. Not only careers, but also businesses. The more things you try, the more things you understand that won't work. I worked with so many people that feel like they're just stuck in a job, and they just stay there for years and years and years and years. Until you find that place where it works for you. You like it, you like people, or you like what you're doing and everything like that. Luckily I found that, and then you could kind of grow within that one niche, let's say. Number 12, I'd say kind of interesting one, is move out of your hometown. And I actually heard someone say this after I've actually done it. So this is the first time I've actually been open about this. So I originally moved from New York to North Carolina. And in the process of doing that, like it seemed like literally every single person around me thought I was making the worst decision of my life. And somehow I went through it. I ended up moving with my girlfriend. Looking back, it kind of looked kind of crazy, but moved with my girlfriend. We moved down to North Carolina. Got the hell out of New York because it was wildly expensive. Now, sure, if you're already like successful in New York, then I think that's great. But like for people that struggle in New York, freaking get out. Probably the same could be said for California. Like, I'm not going to live somewhere and struggle just to be there. It's like Stockholm syndrome. It's like crazy to me. We eventually moved from New York to North Carolina, ended up getting engaged, got married, ended up having a house, have our son now, gonna have our daughter soon, and might have been one of the most beneficial things I've ever done in my life. Not only set up a good trajectory for myself, but also for like my future generations, like my kids. Now they're not going to be in New York and then struggle. They could live here, which is a little bit easier, at least hopefully. But what I think moving out of your hometown does, it helps open your eyes to kind of the world a bit. I feel like when you're in your hometown, you kind of get in a rut and your eyes aren't fully open. When you move out, I feel like that's what it does. And you don't have to stay there, you know, if it doesn't work out, you could always move back. I think keeping your opportunities open is a good thing. And it ended up working out for us. So to my kids, you're welcome. I hope that it's helping you guys out, because I'd be struggling a hell of a lot more if I stayed. And bonus is understanding time is real and extremely important, along with opportunity costs. When you're young and you're in your 20s, everyone always tells you that, like, oh, you got so much time, you're young, you know, whatever. Which is true, you do have time, but it's still going. And when I hit 30, I was like, whoa, hold on. Time is a thing. And it sounds super simple, but realizing like from 20 to 30, that's 10 years. You could do a lot in 10 years, given you should be trying new things and seeing, you know, what works for you. But unfortunately, you're always under the clock. And understanding opportunity cost of when you put your time or effort or money into something, that means it's not in something else. Again, another simple concept, but that's important. One example, when I was doing door dashing, I realized like an hour of door dashing, I could be using that hour for something else, more productive, more profitable, more whatever. Or now that I have a family, now I have kids, I really have to prioritize my time. Looking back when I was single and had no kids, you have so much time. So really try to utilize it. And realizing, unfortunately, time decreases as you gain responsibilities. That's not a bad thing, but it is true. And you start prioritizing it. Like, I'm still able to have my job, have my side business, and still you need that quality time with the people in your life that you love and that matter. And the sooner you realize that, the better your life can be. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Made some mistakes, learned a lot in my 20s, and looking to grow from that. And hopefully you guys could grow from that too. Now, I'm sure there's more to this than what I also mentioned, so if there's anything that might stick out to anyone else, you could leave them down below in the comments. Love to see what you have to say, and I'll see you guys in the next one.